You know that feeling when someone barely texts you back, gives you just enough to keep you interested, but never fully lets you in, and somehow that makes you want them more than anyone who's ever been openly crazy about you? Your friends can see it from a mile away. They tell you this person is not that interested, and some part of you knows they're right, but you can't stop thinking about them. You can't stop checking your phone. You can't stop replaying every small moment like it means something. So why does emotional unavailability feel so magnetic? Why do warm, available people sometimes feel boring, while someone who keeps you guessing feels impossible to walk away from? That's exactly what we're getting into today. Today, we're breaking down the psychology behind why emotionally unavailable people pull us in so hard, what's actually happening in your brain, and what you can do with that awareness. But before we get into it, at Psychology Vault, we turn real psychology into something you can actually feel and use. Not textbook definitions, not clinical distance, just the stuff that helps you understand why you feel what you feel and why you love the way you love. If any part of you has ever felt confused by your own attraction, why you're drawn to people who seem just out of reach, this channel is literally built for you. Hit subscribe, because what we're about to cover might completely change the way you see your own patterns. Let's go. One quick thing before we start, I pinned a question in the comments that's directly tied to what we're exploring today. If this feeling is already hitting close to home, go answer it when you get there. I actually read every single reply. 1. Your brain mistakes uncertainty for excitement. When something is unpredictable, our brains release dopamine, the chemical responsible for craving and pursuit. Psychologists call this variable reward reinforcement. It's the same mechanism that makes slot machines so hard to walk away from. You don't get a reward every time you pull the lever. You get it sometimes, randomly. And that inconsistency is exactly what keeps you pulling. And here's the part that sounds counterintuitive, but is completely true. It's not the reward itself that hooks us. It's the not knowing whether the reward is coming. Think of it like a gotcha game. You could grind the same dungeon every single day and get the guaranteed drop, and it feels fine. But the rare item, with a 2% pull rate, you will spend your entire Sunday on that. Our brains are literally wired to find the uncertain more compelling than the sure thing. That's not weakness. That's just the oldest part of your brain doing what it was built to do. Chase what hasn't been caught yet. 2. Emotional distance triggers your attachment system. Our attachment systems, the deep psychological wiring that governs how we connect to others, were formed in childhood. If you grew up in an environment where love felt inconsistent, where approval had to be earned, or where closeness was sometimes followed by withdrawal, your nervous system learned to associate love with effort and uncertainty. Psychologists call this an anxious attachment style. It means that easy, open affection can feel unfamiliar, almost suspicious, while someone who's hard to reach feels like home. Not because they're good for you, because they rhyme with something old. It's like starting a new show and the soundtrack immediately feels familiar. Not because you've heard it, but because it sounds exactly like something from a show that wrecked you before. Your nervous system recognizes the pattern and leans in. The pull toward emotionally unavailable people often isn't about who they are at all. It's about who they remind you of. 3. Unavailability creates a scarcity effect. Our brains are wired to assign more value to things that are rare or hard to access. In psychology, this is called the scarcity heuristic. And it doesn't just apply to products or resources, it applies to people. When someone seems like they could take you or leave you, your brain immediately inflates their value. Suddenly they feel more interesting, more desirable, more worth pursuing. This is the one that usually makes people go quiet for a second. Think about how Netflix does limited time content. The moment something is leaving the platform, everyone wants to watch it, even if they had zero interest before. Emotionally unavailable people trigger that same leaving the platform energy without even trying. Your brain reads their distance as scarcity, and scarcity reads as worth. The less available someone makes themselves feel, the more your brain convinces you they must be worth having. 4. The chase feels like chemistry. It's usually anxiety. When we're drawn to someone emotionally unavailable, there's a physical feeling that comes with it. Elevated heart rate, a buzz of nervous energy, that constant low-level preoccupation with them. We tend to read that as chemistry, as intensity, as a sign that this person is special. But psychologists point out that anxiety and excitement produce near identical physical sensations. What feels like romantic chemistry is often your nervous system in a mild state of stress, trying to resolve uncertainty. Researchers sometimes call this misattribution of arousal, where we experience physical activation and we label it as attraction, when it may actually be something closer to anxiety. It's like watching a horror movie with someone you find attractive. Technically, your heart is racing because something jumped out at a screen, but your brain files it under incredible connection. Same biology, completely different cause. The most intense connections aren't always the healthiest. Sometimes the spark is just your nervous system trying to calm itself down. 5. What you can actually do with this. Being drawn to emotionally unavailable people isn't a character flaw. It's a pattern. And like any pattern, it starts making sense once you can see it clearly. But here's what you can do. Think about the last time you felt that intense pull towards someone. Was the feeling in your chest closer to excitement or to anxiety you were trying to resolve? When you imagine someone who's openly warm and present with you, what comes up? Does it feel safe or does it feel somehow less interesting? And if so, what does that tell you about what you learned to expect from closeness? And this one, if the uncertainty disappeared tomorrow, if this person just became straightforwardly available, would you still want them as much? Or is some part of the wanting tied to the chase itself? Healthy attraction grows steadier over time. It doesn't spike because someone went quiet for 3 days. When availability starts to feel safe rather than boring, that's not settling. That's your nervous system learning that love doesn't have to hurt to be real. And if any of this feels like it runs deeper than one relationship pattern, if it connects to something from a long time ago, that's okay. Some of this stuff has roots, and recognizing it is already something. If you want more of this, psychology that actually explains your own heart back to you, subscribe. That's genuinely what we're here for. Thanks so much for being here, and until next time, take care of yourself.